Let's see, tonight, because it's a Friday and it's during Lent, I'm making a lovely Pasta Puttanesca. As everybody knows, this is my specialty. And the one meal Greg refuses to learn how to cook so that I have to make it, which is fine, I like making it. So here we have some 2 ribs of chopped celery and chopped onion and 2 cloves of garlic, which I've been sauteing in some olive oil until soft. Next, it's been about between 5 and 10 minutes. Okay. Next, we're going to add 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, and a can of anchovies. Now, I know a lot of people really hate anchovies, and I definitely wouldn't eat them on pizza, but they really add the flavor to the puttanesca, and what they do is they kind of melt, so you don't actually see pieces of anchovies by the time this is done. When they cook down, they essentially dissolve in the sauce. Hope you're enjoying the production music in the background, courtesy of the cameraman. Let's see. So we want to simmer that for about 10 minutes. And I usually like to set the timer because I'm terrible at keeping track of time. But, you know, this is cooking, it's not science, so it doesn't really have to be exact. But 10 minutes is usually about right. What's great about this meal is that you can prepare each stage of it and then clean up as you go along, and by the time you're done, you have a delicious sauce and basically no cleanup. So the next thing I'm going to do is to chop some stuffed green olives. The recipe calls for about 1/3, but I usually, oops, I got to turn this down. Forgot to turn that down. That would help. Okay. That's why it's splattering a little bit. I'm not allowed to wear an apron though when I cook because Greg said it turns me into like an evil monster. So I try to avoid the apron. So anyway, getting back to the olives, I usually do more like 1/2 cup because I like a lot of stuff in my sauce. So I tend to go over a little bit what the recipe calls for in terms of some of these ingredients. Now, for those of you who don't know, Pasta Puttanesca Puttan means whore in Italian, and it's what used to be served in whorehouses. I'm not sure why, maybe because it was cheap, like the whores, I guess, I don't know. Just a little trivia. Anyway, so I'm chopping up the stuffed green olives, and as I chop a little bit at a time, because it's easier. And then as I go along, I just put them in my measuring cup. Again, doesn't really matter. The recipe calls for, where'd that piece of paper come from? The recipe calls for 1/3 cup, but I usually do closer to 1/2. And the other good thing about the olives is you can snack on them while you're cooking. I'm going to pour some of this out in the sink. Little guys are stuck in there. I think I just got some juice from the olive container in my hair, so that should taste delicious. I guess it's better than getting my hair in the puttanesca. Now, I usually do a pretty coarse chop with the olives. It really doesn't matter. I don't think it's good to have it too fine, but that's really a matter of personal preference. And again, I think everything in this recipe can be adjusted according to your own personal likes and dislikes. I usually follow the recipe pretty closely, except for adding to the amounts a little bit. Oh, I think I overdid it on the olives, but that's okay because we like olives, so definitely more than usual. By the way, the place I originally got this recipe from, believe it or not, I still use the same disgusting copy of this recipe, which is from House Beautiful from June of 1991. Yep, I've had this magazine for 29 years, just slightly less than I've had my husband. Let's stir the sauce around. I think when I turned it down, I turned it a little too low. But again, it doesn't really matter. It's only about halfway through the 10 minutes. That's Jack. He's a good helper. Let's see, I think this is a good time to rinse out my cans for recycling. By the way, I always get the flat anchovies, but I guess you could probably use rolled anchovies. I never have, so I don't really know the difference. Another alternative is anchovy paste, which comes in a tube, and then you just use as little or as much as you want, and you don't have the whole fish, if that skeeves you out at all, but you get the flavor. And you just have to remember to refrigerate the tube. Not all stores have it, but you know, your better grocery stores or gourmet food stores should have it. I think I thought I wrote it down, but I don't see it here. I don't remember how much anchovy paste, but I'm sure it says on the tube like what would be the equivalent of a can. But again, you know, you can do it to taste. Some people really don't want the anchovies at all, and it's certainly fine to leave it out, but I think that it gives it a more, what's the word? Just a fuller flavor and a little acidity, and you know, it's a nice touch. Why is my cameraman laughing? Probably because I never cook, so this is kind of a joke, but it's true. I do make this. So, oh yeah, when we add the olives, we're going to also add some capers and some red pepper flakes. It also calls for basil, but if I have some fresh basil around, I might add that, but I don't really particularly like the dried basil, so I just don't even bother with it. Again, with the capers, I also go over the recommended amount in the recipe, which is, what does it say? A teaspoon. I usually do at least a tablespoon. I really like capers. Which, I forget what the plant is, but capers are the bud of some sort of plant, in case anybody's wondering. They're not fish, they're a plant-based product. I just don't remember what they're from. Does it say on here? No. Well, we're almost out of capers, actually. We're probably going to use the rest of this jar, but that's okay.
From the madcap tree.
Yes, madcap capers. Should be simmering. What I like about this particular pan that I'm cooking this in, it's a Le Creuset pan I've also had since I've been married, so 29 years. It's great because you can make the sauce in it. It's nice, heavy, enameled cast iron, and then you can serve it in this if you want to serve it. Which reminds me, I ought to turn the water on for the pasta. I'm going to just let that simmer a little bit more. What else can I tell you about this? I usually like to serve it with a good crusty Italian bread and maybe a side salad and some wine. Sorry, I have to press this because it's at low power. This sounds like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia music. It is. Okay, getting the nod there. So what was I saying? Oh, so this pan, yeah, this is really nice. What I usually like to do with the linguine, I make it with linguine. I like to mix the linguine in with the sauce. Some people prefer to just serve the sauce on top of the linguine so that you can control what your sauce to linguine ratio is. Again, that's fine. However you want to do it is fine with me. But I like to mix it in just because I think somehow the flavors taste better. The ratio seems to work out well with a box of linguine and the amount of sauce that I make. So, anyway, I hope everybody's handling the stay inside, well, not stay inside, but stay at home orders pretty well. I didn't stay inside today. I did take Jack for a walk with Greg. He's pretty good on the walk, and so's the dog. Okay, little humor there, little virus humor. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just add those olives in, and then the capers. Capers are delicious, like little salty, little flavor bursts. I love capers. That's it for the capers. And then this is going to simmer about 20 minutes. So I'm not going to keep everybody watching for 20 minutes, but I'll come back online in about 20 minutes and show you what the last steps are for our delicious pasta puttanesca. Hi everybody, we're back. It's been a little bit longer than 20 minutes because the water for the pasta wasn't quite boiled. Also, you know how I said it's cooking, it's not chemistry? I made a little mistake. See these 2 cans of crushed tomatoes? Like my cans? Anyway, it really should have only been 1 can of crushed tomatoes. So the sauce is going to be a little bit more tomatoey, but that's okay. It really doesn't matter. So it's actually good that it cooked a little bit longer because it cooked down a little bit. But I like stuff really tomatoey. So, oops. Wait a minute. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to just drain the pasta. And to finish the sauce, I'm just going to add a little bit of black pepper. And a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. We like Penzies. We use them for all our herbs and spices. Penzies! Not only are they delicious and very fresh tasting, but it's a very socially conscious company, so we really like to support them, and they're very reasonably priced. So check them out. If you don't have a Penzies near you, they do a lot by mail order, which I guess these days is all that we can really do for that kind of shopping anyway. Okay, so the sauce is ready. I'm going to take my pasta. I'm going to be a little more careful than I normally am because there's twice as much crushed tomatoes in this sauce, so it's a little full, but that's okay. I need a drink. Pinot Noir. Okay, and we're just going to mix it up. And again, this proportion is a little bit off because I made a mistake, but no biggie. It'll be good, actually, it'll be even better when it's left over because I find that sauce and pasta in the fridge tends to dry out a little bit, so it'll be good to have that extra moisture. So it's a little hard to mix it up because there's so much in there, but you can see, I'm going to taste it. Manja.